This team is absolutely dominating Regulation F right now, and I want to talk about it and how you would beat it. So first of all, let's look at the team. This is a Flutter Hark team. I guess I'll move Hark up to the second slot. So it's a Flutter Hark team. The logic is you have this very bulky Flutter main, and what you do is you click either Thunderwave or Icy Wind, and then you click Rock Slide, and you Paraflinch and hacks everyone. It's a pretty straightforward team. Now this is the version that won Victory Road, which is this tournament here that happened just last weekend, I think. This one has Goldango on it, which is maybe not as common as other ones, but we'll go over the ones with like Dark Urshifu as well. So the main problem is on lead. Flutter Hark is very good into most things. Hark has a very good defensive typing. It's kind of like relatively not, like, it's not super bulky compared to other things in the format. Like, I don't know, I find that Hark's bulk kind of is not very good. Hark obviously has that rock type wing, which would resist Bleak Wind Storm from Torn. It resists a lot of things. Then you have that Terra Grass, which allows you to survive things like Surging Strikes, things like Stomping Tantrum, things like Earth Power. So on the whole, you have a lot of versatility with both Terra and with the normal, like, defensive type of arc. And then you lead it beside Flutter Mane, and you can kind of just really mess stuff up, like especially Thunderwave, Rock Slide, very threatening combo. This Flutter Mane, again, insanely bulky, so it can survive things like that Grassy Glide, Sucker Punch double up, so you can't even reliably use your priority Pokemon, so this can be a huge nuisance. On top of that, you have this Goldango. This Goldango, with this nasty plot that just sets up in your face and starts nuking everything. Now, this Goldango on this team maybe does not have as much support options as it normally likes to. Like, obviously you have that Follow Me Ogerpon, but apart from that, you really don't have that many things that are actually helping you set up. So Goldango might be a bit more difficult to set up, but don't underestimate it because it's still a Goldango, it's still very strong. Obviously the Water Pond is very good to support these pieces. Another thing that's interesting about Water Pond is you can actually like lead it to Flutter Hark. Just because that Terra Water is just so good defensively, and you get that special defense boost. So I'm pretty sure, I would have to calculate, but I'm pretty sure you can just Terra Water Ivy Cudgel and just do a lot of damage to these guys. It's important to consider that you are intimidated, so if they Terra, you're obviously not picking them up, but you're also not picking up the Flutter Mains, even if you Terra, because of that Intimidate, which is important to keep in mind. Then we got Lando. Obviously you have this classic sub Lando, Terra Poison, Sheer Force. This Lando is very good. It can give you a lot of control over the battle with sub, because all of a sudden, like, your Lando cannot be knocked out in one hit, it can't be faked out, it can't be spored. So there's a lot of things that sub actually does that is not just the health boost. And then here we got the Raging Bolt. This one is Dragon Pulse Electro Web. Terra Electric Electro Web is rising in usage right now. Logic being, you can just click Terra Electric Electro Web, and obviously except for Landers, you can just put everything else in range of E-Web, like, or of in like a speed drop, which is allowing you to outspeed things. So this format really has a big emphasis. This format really has a big emphasis on speed control. Obviously with this, like, E-Web's Bolt, T-Wave Flutter, Icy Wind Flutter, there's a lot of things you can do that are maybe a little bit more speed control oriented than past formats have been. So this is the first version of the team. There is a version instead of Goldango, I think that Marco used, and I think it's just this. I think it's just Dark Ursh over Goldango, I'm pretty sure is the only difference. Yes. So the logic with this Dark Ursh is, it is Focus Sash with Wicked Blow, Close Combat, Sucker Punch, and Protect, and it is Terra Dark. And the logic with this Urshifu is that you can just nuke a ton of stuff with Terra Dark. Wicked Blow does a ton of damage, plus you have that, like, already good speed control from Flutter Mane and Bolt, and the redirection from Ogerpon, that allows you to actually do a lot of damage with this, like, Urshifu, even though it might be a little bit frail, especially with the Focus Sash. With all the support that you have, like the redirection and speed control support, you can really allow it to get some moves off without needing to set up. Plus you have that Sucker Punch, which is obviously very nice priority damage that can do a crap ton of stuff and really nuke a lot of stuff. So I think the Dark Ursh version of this team is very good as well. I'm sure there's some kind of like variations of this team or whatever. But for the most part, this is what you're going to be seeing with these kind of Hark teams. There wasn't Goltra's one, but I think that one's not necessarily as popular right now, just because the Flutter Hark lead has kind of been discovered. So, yeah, that is the team, and now let's talk about how you would beat it. There are a lot of ways to beat this team. The first one is your own Flutter Hark. Now you might be thinking, isn't that just Speed Tile Simulator? And yes, it is. But what you can do is you can run an older Flutter Mane set with Moonblast, Icy Wind, Taunt, Protect, and then have maybe a bit more speed investment. So, like, they're never really going this high, realistically, this 116 bump. So you can hit this 116 bump, and all of a sudden, you're outspeeding all the other Flutter Mane, you're outspeeding the bulky ones. And that allows you to either taunt them so they can't T-Wave you, or just start clicking Icy Wind. And then with your own Hark, whether that's Banded, which it usually is, or Clear Amulet, you can just sit there and start clicking Rock Slide, or you can like have a different Terra on Hark. But most of the time, if you have the faster Flutter, you can just sit there and Icy Wind, get the Icy Winds off first, and you can get more chip damage. You could also probably run something like Shadow Bolts, maybe chip the Hark a bit better, but for the most part, this is what most people are using. Like, you have to consider, like, even if you don't win the Flutter Hark mind game at the beginning, I guess not really mind game, I guess Speed Tie is a better word for it, but if you lead Flutter Hark and then you lose your Flutter and your Hark, you still have pieces like that Raging Bolt in the back, you can just T-clap them, you have a lot of other options, and that can actually be better for you even if you don't, like, take both of their pieces, because it can allow you to position a bit better. So this is one way. This way maybe not the most consistent if you're running Choice Band. I think there's a Clear Amulet with Protect, that one might be a bit better, but I think for the most part, like, most of them are running Choice Band, so that is an option. I've also seen people run Head Smash, and you can just, like, protect the Flutter and Head Smash their Flutter. If you predict their Arc or their Flutter to not go for Icy Wind, or T-Wave on your Arc, but there's a lot of things that you can do, I think, with these kind of leads. It's just like 50-50s at that point. So then we have Cresselia or Ursaluna. Now, a lot of Cresselia are running Mental Herb right now. Logic being, I think this is what they're running. Logic being, you can get that Trick Room up a lot easier. And Ursaluna kind of messes these kind of teams up. Like, a lot of them don't have Rillaboom, so they have Water Pond instead. So you can just sit there and click, like, Earthquake and just nuke everything that they have. Their only form of Intimidated Arcanine, which really does not want to be out against your Ursaluna, and Ursaluna Facade is doing a ton of damage to Water Pond as well. Not to mention, you still have two other Pokemon in the back. Cresselia Ursaluna is probably going to be very popular because it just does very well into these Flutter Mane and Hark teams, which otherwise might struggle into Trick Room, but this Mental Herb is what's actually keeping you, like, sane. Because, like, sure, they can T-Wave, like, but a lot of the time what you'll see is these kind of players will run, like, Water Pond Cress. They'll Follow Me and then Trick Room, just so that they don't, like, first of all, if that's your game plan, you probably could, like, run something like Clover Cloak or Lefties or Citrus Berry on your Cress, maybe Safety Goggles, just because, like, you're not getting taunted if you're clicking Follow Me, but also because a lot of the Flutters will click T-Wave Rock Slide if you have Mental Herb and just kind of hope to Paraflinch you to death. It's also important to keep in mind, Cresselia's bulk is really, really good. Like, that is, you would have to get Paraflinch, like, a lot of times before you're actually starting to lose ground. But on the whole, I think Cress Ursa is very, very strong. So, now we have the two Urshifus. Now, the two Urshifus probably don't seem that great into Cress Ursaluna, into Flutter Arc at first, because obviously there's a Flutter there, but I think that it's important to keep in mind that these Arc are actually, these Arc are often Terra Grass, which, yeah, they can resist the Surging Strikes, but they can't resist close combat. It's also important to keep in mind that they are also banded, so they cannot switch moves. If they want to click Rock Slide, then they can't damage your Ursh. So what people have been doing, what I've been seeing, I don't know if this is good, but what I've been seeing is, like, something like a Terra Steel Urshifu or more defensive Terra-type Mystic Water Ursh. The logic with this one is that you would lead your Ursh. Obviously, this would be like a pretty standard Ursh, but you would lead your Ursh in front of the Flutter and the Arcanine, and then you could protect your Ursh and, like, Icy Wind with the Flutter, and all of a sudden, your Ursh doesn't really care about Intimidate if you're clicking Strikes, and you're forcing one of the two pieces to Terra. It's probably going to be the Arc, but then you can chip the Flutter Mane. The Arc can't really touch you, especially if you're Terra Steel and they lock into Rock Slide. They can't really touch you. If they lock into something else, then they're probably attacking your Flutter Mane. Like, I think if you have the Urshifu here, if you have the Arc here, Urshifu here, Flutter Mane here, and they decide to Flare Blitz you, like Flare Blitz anything, it's not going to be the Ursh, I'll tell you that much. At least not on game one. I feel like a lot of people would not make that play. Then there's also the Dark Ursh. See, the thing is with Dark Ursh is, like, you can just Terra Dark, like, Wicked Blow this thing and just, like, blow it off the face of the earth. I think it would probably survive, but, like, after an Icy Wind, like, it's kind of a little iffy. Plus, you also have that Close Combat option. I would assume Close Combat would get there even at -1, just because Hark is just so frail. So, I think that having both these Urshifus next to Flutter Mane is also a good option. We've talked about Ogerpon a bit. The Terra Water Ogerpons, what you do is you just, like, this is probably the least consistent. Now that I put it in the builder and think about it a bit more, this is probably not the best option because I think you're always losing, especially if they Terra Grass. I mean, the good news is you're forcing a Terra. The bad news is you're probably losing, assuming you're leading Flutter Ogerpon, you're probably losing both Flutter and Ogerpon, which is maybe not ideal. But I think maybe if there's a world where you, like, protect, if you're the faster one, you can protect Ogerpon and taunt the Flutter, and then, like, Icy Wind, Terra Water, Ivy Cudgel or something. But I feel like that's still maybe not the most consistent line, so I'm not really sure if this is, like, the best option, but it could work. I mean, I guess it could work. No one's stopping you. But yeah, I mean, I think like there's a lot of Pokemon like disable. I think, which is also a good option. Like you can disable that Hark. Actually, there's not a lot. Like you probably don't want to run Ninetales Alola into Flutter Hark. Probably not the smartest idea, but I think disable is an option to look into. Iron Valiant, I know Iron Valiant did well this tournament as well, actually. So I think there's a lot of cool stuff. There's also this Bando team that's been running around. This team is really, really good into Flutter Hark because you just lead Torn Bando and just click Tailwind, or, like Earthquake, and then just Bleak Wind, and then they just kind of die. Plus you have that Goldengo in the back. Like this team is very, very good into these kind of basic Flutter Arc teams. So I think those are a bunch of options. Should help you out. I hope you guys enjoy. If you did, like and subscribe. If you don't like and subscribe, okay, no, this is actually side rant. Look at this, bro. The impressions click-through rate is like godly. The AVD is like godly, and just YouTube stop pushing it, bro. Please, if you guys want to help me out, then I think you should watch this video, this one, not the one that you're watching, and subscribe. Thank you. Goodbye.